I want to share a talk with you that I believe you will remember forever. And that is the hindsight window. The hindsight window is the window of time between an event which you perceive to be bad at the time and sometime in the future that you see it as something that was meant to be. You see it as something you're grateful for. You got fired and you were angry, and then later you go, of course, that was meant to happen. We call that the hindsight window, and here's kind of my general idea. The longer your hindsight window, the less you are happy. And the shorter your hindsight window, the happier you'll be. Here's an emotional formula for you. Regret in the past equals fear in the future. But the opposite of this is, however much gratitude you have for your past will show up as faith in your future. So we can clean up our past before it happens. Because when you create a meaning at the age of 5 about what's going on around you, how much life experience did you have? Then something happens and you go, oh, that means that for the rest of my life. That's what happens, right? Because I'm not worthy, I'm not capable of being loved, I'm not a valuable human being. Does this sound familiar to anybody? It is never too late to have a happy childhood. We just have to go back and remember it differently. We have to go back and remember the truth of what happened, not the truth of what we believed happened at the time. Does this make sense? Okay, so now it's fine. We know how to do it in the future. We know how to clean up the past. But what do we do when it's in the moment? The toughest one is the present, isn't it? You're fired. Handle it right that moment, how about? Right? So I'm gonna give you an example of how I handled it in the present. One day, my wife and I arrived home. We've been on the road for 6 months. We had everything we owned to value with us. We had $45,000 worth of stuff with us. Now, the reason I know that is because as soon as we arrived home, somebody stole all of it. Passports, money, everything, gone. And so here's what's going on. It's gone. First there's denial, then there's reality, and I'm angry, and I'm frustrated, and I'm pissed off. And I have to ask myself, is anger helping? And I realized it isn't. And I thought to myself, okay, but what would help? And I said, calm. But calm was not available to me. So I looked at this event and I thought, well, you know what? I know that one day I'm gonna feel grateful for this. One day I am. Why might I one day be grateful for this event? I am not kidding you. I'm still standing there with the door open, looking at the empty truck, and I started feeling good about this theft. I kept coming up with reasons that this theft was a massive gift in my life. And I'm like, this is incredible. And I want to tell you something. It was. So here's how it works. Event happens. You figure out the emotion you're having and you decide, is it serving you? Then you say, what emotion would be serving me better? And then you ask yourself, what would have to happen for me to find gratitude right now? And so I think a lot about the way our desires are. I think that some of the greatest enjoyment we get out of life is not in the achieving, it's in the wanting itself. Because I know there's been a million times where I've received the thing that I wanted so much and it was anticlimactic. The wanting was really the fun part, right? And so there's this whole universe of things that are impossible to you. You don't even know they exist. And then at some point in time, somebody comes along and says, hey, this thing's visible, but you go, yeah, but it's impossible. And the challenge is get rich quick schemes, and I'm gonna help you take the impossible and make it immediately actual. Instant results. Here's the trouble with instant results. You never acclimatize to the result. If you take a butterfly out of the cocoon before it was ready, it will never fly and die. You need the whole process of going from impossible to possible to probable to then actual. And what's fascinating about this is that's all you need. You need to go there one step at a time. And the first step is not the first step you take on the mountain, it's the first step you take to start to believe one day you could do it. Step 1, figure out where point A is. Step 2, figure out what is point B. And I'm going to tell you, point B is the point of belief. That's what point B is. The minute you start to believe in something, then it is now possible for you. Because other people, they start off at point A, and then they want to go to point B. But then what happens to their belief? It starts to fade. They're friends. Oh, they're friends. You'll never make it. Oh, it's so hard. Why do you keep trying? Come on, get a job. And so they go, well, my belief is fading. And so they turn. And then they get lost. The weirdest thing is that it wasn't a strategy they needed. It was belief. They needed to believe in what they were doing in a big way. Because you see, the minute you believe in something, it changes the way you see the world. It changes everything. Because we don't see stuff. But once we begin to believe, then our mind starts paying attention and looking for evidence. But what's really magic is that in the very same way, when you buy a car and suddenly you can see that car everywhere, you know what I'm talking about, right? Why couldn't you see it before? I would put to you that everybody who uses that example on stage doesn't fully understand it yet, because you could see it before. Because if you couldn't have seen it before, you would have tried to park where it was parked. So you could see it before, but you couldn't see it for what it was. And I'm telling you right now, there are people that a week ago, you couldn't see them for what they are. There are opportunities in your life that you couldn't see what it really was, the opportunity that it really represented. Now you will see those things differently. And all you have to do to maintain that is act upon those visions. A butterfly can't see its own wings. You have no idea how brilliant you are.